Hey everyone, I'm George Siebert with Avocor, and today we're going to talk about the Kramer VIA Connect Plus, a very secure wireless presentation and collaboration solution, and what that looks like pairing up with an Avocor interactive flat panel. Before we get into features, let's take a look at the setup between the Kramer VIA and an Avocor panel. So when connecting your VIA to the Avocor panel, it's very simple. The VIA will output at 1080p at 60 hertz. However, the Avocor panel can support 4K 60 hertz. It's just the VIA goes out at 1080p, just to note that. So whether you're using HDMI out to an HDMI input on the Avocor panel or leveraging that display port, that'll pass your video there and audio. And then you'll need a USB A to B to pass touch. So you have 4 USB ports on the VIA. You'll connect one of those from A to B, that touch USB port on the Avocor panel. Next, you'll need to get a network somehow, whether it's the hardwired into your network. The other option would be to leverage the Wi-Fi dongle that you can get from Kramer and plug that into one of your 4 USB ports. And that leaves 2 more USB ports for USB camera, wireless keyboard. So you're pretty much covered there. And then, here's the top-down view, turn it on. And that's really all you have to do to get yourself started. Now we're going to cover what happens after you turn it on and configure on the network and going from there. Okay, so I booted up my Kramer VIA. I did some simple steps to get it onto the network. I like to also mention that we have my Logitech Meetup camera connected via USB, as well as a wireless keyboard and those 2 extra ports that I have on my VIA, which will come into play in just a bit. So I'm on the network. You see the room name and the code, right? This is what the users will leverage when walking into the room to begin sharing. And you see they have some simple steps there down at the bottom for users who may not be familiar with the VIA. So before we even get to wirelessly sharing, let's show some of the features that are just built in here. So I can see a list of who's currently participating. I have myself added into this session from my personal device. And they have some natively built applications here, like a whiteboard app, right? So very responsive. I can change pen colors. I can create notes, additional pages, and save this and share it out at the end of the session. Anything I save here will be stored locally. And you see that cloud button there, the third down from the top, that will allow me to see a list of all the files that I've shared or saved and able to share afterwards. Additionally, if I had something connected to my HDMI input to another device, I can share that screen here, as well as a screen share, which we'll show in just a bit. And it's also got Zoom, BlueJeans, and Teams UC built in right into this. So that's what I'm doing here. I started a Zoom meeting from my device, joined it from my Kramer VIA, and started sharing my screen here. Before we move on to actual sharing from a Windows device, let me just show off this natively built built-in AirPlay, right? So you see there at the bottom, so any Mac device, right, you have the screen mirroring capability. I have an iPad here, and it's going to put a code in the bottom right. And I can just tap in that 4-digit code from my iPad here, and I'm instantly sharing. So that's just built in. You don't need to download any additional apps to do that. So now that we've showed in some of those built-in features there, we're going to hop over to show sharing from a personal device, my Windows 10 device. Okay, so now we're going to walk through the scenario of a user walking into the space with their personal device where the Kramer VIA and Avocor panel reside and connecting and beginning to collaborate and share. So I've got a list of predefined meeting spaces that I've used in the past. This is the one we're using today. And the room code is 4455. I enter that, wait about 4 to 5 seconds, and I'm in. Okay, so this is the Kramer VIA app, which you will have to download as a user to begin sharing from your Windows device. The big present button is there, right? We can press that and begin presenting to the screen directly. But before we do that, let's cover a couple of the different features here from top to bottom. Multimedia, so this is real nice. So any user who's connected can begin playing any multimedia content, MP4 files or whatever it might be. Whether it's browsing, they hit this plus button and browse to a shared directory, or maybe they have something on the desktop they need to show everybody. And as soon as they hit the play button here, it's playing instantly, as you saw, right? And I'm leveraging the speakers on the Meetup camera connected to the VIA and the Avocor panel. So real nice. Okay, so let's go back. Start collaboration. This feature here is for, so any users who are who've entered in the code and are sharing together. As soon as I press that start collaboration button and share content, all users involved can begin manipulating the shared content and collaborate together. So that's a nice feature as well. Whiteboard, you saw that earlier. So as soon as I tap that, the Whiteboard app will appear on the screen there, and I can start inking, start doing an ad hoc whiteboard session, save that and share it at the end if I'd like. Let's close that. Files here. So, whether it's something from the device, like that whiteboard session I may have saved, or anything on my device, on my personal device, I can share this with all participants. It will go into a location where each meeting participant can grab it. So before the meeting ends, maybe you want to, put those slides out so everybody can grab them, as opposed to, waiting for the email later on the day, or maybe people forget about that kind of thing, and you can just do it right on the fly. So that's a real nice feature as well. So that takes us to enable control. Before I hit that button there, I'm going to begin sharing my screen to the VIA. So I click that little green button. I'm now sharing my content, and I'm also going to click enable control. So now I'm able to manipulate my device from the VIA, from the Avocor panel connected to the VIA, right? And any inking that I do here, right? I select this pen and I begin writing. This is inking back wirelessly to my device, as you can see. I'm writing that up there, but it's going back to my device on the conference room table. And I mean, that's, as far as a wireless connection goes, that amount of time, you can just see from when I'm actually touching the panel to when it's inking it. I mean, it's not 4K 60 Hertz like you would have with a wired connection, but it's very close. I mean, very good. I've yet to see something as quick as that, right? So that's a really nice benefit. And like, something like PowerPoint, I'm wirelessly sharing that. I can go into PowerPoint and go to the front of the room if I'd like to be able to be a bit more animated with my presentation. I can then begin inking, right? And go through that presentation up at the front of the room wirelessly. So that's enable control. In addition, we have a chat functionality, right? So any users join to the session together can chat with one another. This files transfer area, that's where all shared files would go for people to pull down that they may have shared from their PC or from any sessions that occurred. Let me also mention that this works just as well with an Android device, just downloading the VIA app from the Google Play Store. And you'll see behind me shortly, I have the app on my phone. Same concept of typing in the IP address or the room name, entering in the code, and you'll see that I can, so I enter in, welcomes me, and I can start sharing or casting here. You can see that's my phone being displayed very quickly. Before we go, let's show off this great feature called Via Versa. So, I have that Meetup camera at the top of my panel that's connected to my VIA Connect. I can actually leverage that wirelessly as well. So as opposed to using my maybe built-in camera on my device, or in this case, my PTZ camera attached to my PC, I can virtually switch over to my Meetup camera. So you'll see in the top right here that it'll just be a second, and then I'm leveraging the conference room camera from my device wirelessly, as well as I'm going to switch over my mic source from my headset to the Meetup. So now I'm leveraging the Meetup microphone wirelessly, and it sounds just as good as it would via wired connection. Really awesome. Let me switch back here. So that about covers everything I wanted to show you today. It's a really great product that works very nicely with the Avocor interactive flat panel. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.